So, I popped into High House Insurance to see if they could quote for my house insurance rather than using the internet. High House got a great deal. So to celebrate, I bought a posh hairdo. It made me look beautiful, gorgeous enough to become a highly paid model. I then won Celebrity Big Brother. I had an affair with an MP. Now I'm promoting a doll of me that says, "Cool blimey, you're well fit."
Happy things happen when you talk face-to-face with High House Insurance. See if we can beat your home insurance quote from the internet. Find us on the High Street Selsey or call 606 552.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Manhood Internet Radio. I'm Tony Wiener, your host for this show. Well, another month has shot by and almost another year, and this is usually a very busy period. So to help you, I suggest you sit down with a nice cup of tea and a biscuit and listen to the show, which starts with Keith's roundup of what's on in the area. That will be followed by the answers to last week's quiz. Karen Marshall then gives an update on what is happening with the withdrawal of the young people's 3-in-1 bus pass, which is a massive problem for parents. Our Kevin will then pose another brain teaser, and that will be followed by Keith, who offers us a very fishy recipe. He then takes a look in Selsey. Okay then, so a busy schedule. Hopefully you now have your tea, a pen, and before you dunk your biscuit, here is Keith with what's on.
And it's time once again for a look at what's going on in and around the area for the coming week or so. All these will be taking place at the Bracklesham Barn unless otherwise stated. So on Wednesday the 7th of December we have motorcycle training. That needs to be pre-booked, and that's from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. Then there's table tennis, and that's from 10 a.m. until 12 noon, and that's adults only. That's a drop-in session, so just turn up for that. And in the afternoon from 1 till 2 p.m. there's belly dancing, my old favourite, with Step Inside Limited. And in the evening, there's Zumba with Louise, and that's from 6:30 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. On Thursday, the 8th of December, there's a Busy Bugs Toddler Gym, and that's from 9:15 a.m. until 12:15 p.m. And at West Wittering Memorial Hall, there's West Wittering Short Mat Bowls, and that's from 10 a.m. until 12 noon, and from 2 until 4 p.m. And if you'd like any more info on that, you can contact Chris on 07788 111325. And over at East Wittering Village Hall from 6 till 7 p.m. we have Mixed Ability Pilates. And also at East Wittering Village Hall is private ballroom and Latin dancing lessons. Now you need to make an appointment for that, and that starts at 7 p.m. And if you'd like to contact them, you can do so on www.strictlydancinguk.co.uk. And then down at the Pond Barn from 8 p.m. it's open mic night. Now on Friday the 9th of December there's Short Mat Bowls, that's from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. There's line dancing at East Wittering Village Hall from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. and also the private ballroom and Latin dancing again. There's a Christmas Tree Festival at St Anne's Church from 10:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Jazz in the Isles with the jazz band known as Chai Jazz, and tickets for that are £10, and that includes a drink and canopies, and that's from the church or from King's Bookshop. On Saturday the 10th of December there's a Christmas Tree Festival at St Anne's Church from 10:30 until 4:30 p.m. and the St Anne's Church Christmas Fair takes place at East Wittering Village Hall from 10:30 a.m. onwards. And in the evening at the Pond Barn there's a charity jackpot draw, and that's from 9 p.m. Now on Sunday the 11th of December the Windrush Church meeting group will be meeting at Bracklesham Barn, of course, 10:30 a.m. until 12:45 p.m. So you can pop along there and see Pastor Andy Stevens. And there's a Christmas Tree Festival at St Anne's Church from 11:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. And there's a Chris Tingle and Toy Service with the Salvation Army Band, and that's at St Anne's Church from 6 p.m. On Monday the 12th of December there's Vinyasa Flow Yoga, and that's from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. There's the Ducklings Parent and Toddler Group, 9:30 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. There's Short Mat Bowls, and that's at Bracklesham Barn, of course, as well, and that's 10:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. There's afternoon tea at Bracklesham Barn from 2:30 until 4:30. There's yoga with Elaine from 7 until 8:30 p.m. There's the ARO Ladies Kickboxing with Verity from 7:30 until 8:30pm. And there's line dancing at East Wittering Village Hall from 7 until 10pm. And on Tuesday the 13th of December, there's the Toddlers Learning Group, Bracklesham Barn once again, 9:30am until 12 noon. There's Yoga with Elaine from 10 until 11am. And there's the Badminton Club, and that's from 7:30pm until 9:30pm. And we go across now to Selsey and see what's going on over there. And on Wednesday the 7th of December, the Selsey Community Choir is back at the Methodist Hall in the High Street, and that's from 7 until 8:30pm. On Thursday the 8th of December, there's a mobile soft play session for under 5s at the Selsey Centre, and that's from 10am until 11:30am. And you can contact Sue or Tom on 01243 604 642 if you want any more information about that one. And also on Thursday, there's adults kickboxing, and that's at the Selsey Centre from 8pm. On Friday the 9th of December, there's mindful music making, and that's at the shop in Selsey High Street, and that's from 2 until 3:30pm. And if you'd like any more information on that, you can contact Anna on 07912 609 437. On Saturday the 10th of December, there's kickboxing once again at the Selsey Centre, and this is for 4 to 6 year olds from 9:45am, and a family class at 10:30am. And there's carols around the Christmas tree on Church Green at St Peter's Church in aid of the Snowdrop Trust. Everybody's welcome to that, and children with well-behaved parents and their doggies can come along, and that's from 4pm. And there's a Christmas extravaganza, and this is run by Sakos, and it features festive songs, readings, solos, carols, and loads more stuff. A real good night, well worth a visit. And the matinee for that is 2:30, so that's not a good night, that's a good afternoon, and 7:30 in the evening, and that's at Selsey Town Hall. There's a pay bar. Tickets are available for that, £7 for adults, £4 for children. And on Sunday the 11th of December, there's a Christmas sing-along at St Wilfrid's Church in Church Road. I have no further information on that, so I don't know what time that is. Monday the 12th of December, it's a Venture Club Christmas lunch at Chichester Golf Club, and that's £15 per person for a 2-course meal. And you can book that via the office at 605 115. And on Tuesday the 13th of December, the mobile soft play session is back at the Selsey Centre, and this is for under 5s, and that's from 10 until 11:30am. And there's a kids kickboxing, and that's also at the Selsey Centre, 4 to 6 year olds from 4:30pm, and the over 6s from 5pm. And that's about it for this week. Before I go, I would just like to clarify that the Sakos Christmas Extravaganza actually takes place on Friday the 9th and Saturday the 10th, with a matinee on the Saturday. So that's 7:30pm on Friday the 9th and Saturday the 10th, and a 2:30 matinee on Saturday. Nearly couldn't say that. So get along there. You can get your tickets from the box office, which is High House Insurance Services in the High Street, and tickets are £7 for adult and £4 for child. And you get a complimentary glass of mulled wine and a mince pie. So that's a bargain. See you again soon.
Goodness me, a busy time. Now we cannot keep you waiting any longer. Here is the answer to last week's quiz.
Now, I'm sure you've been looking forward to these. These are the answers to last week's quiz. Kevin asked us, what is the alternative name for a screech owl? Well, that is, of course, a barn owl. And I'm sure our friends down at Owls About Town will be able to tell you that. Now, by what nickname was musician Hugh D. Ledbetter known? Well, that was Leadbelly. Where is it said that souls go that have not been baptised? And that's into limbo. In fashion, what is the level to which a dress or skirt hangs called? That's a hemline. Which company advertised with the slogan, the name on the finest blades? That was, of course, Wilkinson Sword. And so we've got barn, belly, limbo, line and sword. And, of course, they're all types of dancing. Nice one, Kevin.
Thank you. Now something we previously featured, the withdrawal of the 3-in-1 bus pass. So over to Keith, who is talking to Karen Marshall with an update.
Here in the studio now I've got Karen Marshall, and Karen's going to be updating us and giving us a bit more information about the demise of the 3-in-1 card and how it's going to affect the 16 to 18 year olds in the area. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Now, we had a chat with a lady called Julie Wilkie recently, and she was giving us some information, and I was kind of hoping you might be able to shed some more light on how things are going, especially with the effect it's going to have on the 16 to 18 year olds in the area, because I believe that you yourself have got children that fall into that category, so you can tell us exactly what it's going to cost you extra to send your children to school in Chichester.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pursuing several avenues really in trying to do something about getting some financial help for people with bus fares going in and out of Selsey, and those are ongoing. So that's where we are with regard to sort of progress since you spoke to Julie. The issue though for the 16 to 18 year olds is most significant in a way. We're talking about children now who have to stay in education, or at least they have to be in training. The government have stipulated that they can't obviously just go onto the dole, which is a good thing. But what the loss of the card has done is that it's basically the children in this age gap are treated as though they are adults. So Stagecoach currently charge a 16-year-old £22 a week to go from Chichester to Selsey, which is an £11 increase on the fare with the 3-in-1 card. The 3-in-1 card, we used to pay £50 for every 3 years, and with that our children could pay £11 a week to get to Selsey, from Selsey to Chichester and back. That for this age group is now going to go up to £22, which is obviously a significant
So it's going to
increase.
cost you in effect another £22 a week or thereabouts.
Yep, so my son's fare's gone from £11 to £22, and my daughter's fare will go at the end of the year, when we lose the 3-in-1 card, will go from £11 to £17 every week.
Why is it cheaper for your daughter than?
Because she's in the 5 to 16 age group.
Oh, I see. Okay, fine. Well, that's a big increase, and that's £17 a week extra that you've got to find.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you work it out over the year, it's a massive amount of money for families to find.
Well, that's about quick figures, about 850 quid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you've got 2 children going to Chichester. Absolutely.
That's an awful lot of money to find every week, or because and of course to benefit from it mostly, you've not got to find it every week. You've got to find it in a lump sum.
Yes, so that's the one of the solutions Stagecoach have given for the loss in the 3-in-1 card is for us to buy these tickets that are longer term. So they're typically a term or 3 months. And those tickets have to be paid for in advance. They're between £200 and £231 a term. So family of 2, you're looking at £430 at the start of September to get your children through to Christmas. And they are one bus ticket the child has to carry. It's paper, it's in a wallet, but it's a piece of paper at the end of the day. And if it's lost, then there's a £23.
I mean, I don't have a great deal of sympathy there, because if something meant that I would have to walk from Chichester to Selsey, if I didn't have my piece of paper, I would make sure I guarded it with my life.
Well,
so, and if my feelings on that are, and I know we touched on this with Julie, is that if a child, young adult, call it what you will, cannot be trusted to look after that piece of paper, to make sure they don't have to walk back from from Chichester to Selsey, then maybe they shouldn't be allowed out on their own.
Well, I mean, that's true, and I have every sympathy for that, but I don't think you'd find a parent in Selsey prepared to let their child walk home from Chichester along our particular road. I just think it's too dangerous. It's
it is
too
absolutely.
fast moving.
Yes. I was making light of the situation in as much as, 16 to 18 year olds should be able to be trusted with a piece of paper that means that they're not put in a position where they've got to phone mum and dad's taxis up and come and fetch us.
They should, I agree, but this is also the same for the younger children as well. So,
Yeah, for younger children, I can understand that would be a worry, because, you can't expect them to from 5 to 16-year-olds to take charge of £230 worth of bus ticket. Now, there was a consultation, I believe, initially, which I don't think you considered to be fully a consultation.
No, from our findings, the consultation was responded to by about 2,500 people. And of those 2,500 people, 97% voted for the status quo. So we were offered various options, and 97% of the respondents voted that the 3-in-1 card should remain as it is. Despite that, the council decided that the 3-in-1 card...
Now I read some figures before my chat with Julie, and the way I read the figures was that 2,500 people, roughly 2,500 people, were entitled to make their feelings known, but actually only 2% of that 2,500 took the time to do it. But from the 2%, 97% of those 2% voted to keep it. So there is a little bit of argument about the figures from my part, and I may well have got it wrong. So you've looked into it far more than I have, but it might make interesting reading. The point I'm trying to make is, are people in the main really getting behind this, or is it another matter of, well, let somebody else sort it out? We'll agree with them, and we'll send them a thing on Facebook to say we agree with them, but I can't really be bothered to do anything.
I think the will is definitely there. People do want this to be solved. However, it might be for some people who've got busy lives, the easier option, rather than trying to solve this situation, the easier option would just be to say, do you know what, I've got a child in year 6, I want them to go to Chichester, but we've lost this card, I can't afford it. Rather than fight to try and get something affordable, I'll just send my child to the local school. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the local school, but what I'm saying is we should have choice, and our choice shouldn't be taken away from us because of a situation like this. And I think it's one of those things, isn't it, when you've got something like this, that there's always a few people pushed to the front that are the spokesperson, but we're definitely getting feedback on the page from people wanting progress. How are we doing? The card's nearly running out. It's running out at the end of December. Then it's going to start hitting people's pockets. At the moment, everybody's still got their 3-in-1 card, unless their child's over 16, in which case it expires. And my son's has recently expired, but up until a couple of weeks ago, he still had his 3-in-1 card. It's only when it's suddenly not there that you find that it hits you in the pocket. And then suddenly you're having to find, this £40 a week to get your children to school.
Yes, because it's only an increase of 20 quid a week, but you still got the 20 quid to start with. So it's, £40 a week, an awful lot of money to pay for your children to go to school.
It really is.
Absolutely. Now, I believe there is a Facebook page, and that's Fair Bus Fares for Manhood Peninsula Youth. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm sure people that hear it won't forget it. That's Fair Bus Fares for Manhood Peninsula Youth. And if you go on there, we can get some more information. But most importantly, you can make your point felt and make your point known. Let's know how you feel about it. Let's know if you think we should just pay up and keep quiet, or if you think, well, we need to make a lot more noise about this to get somebody to look at it. Now, I believe there have been discussions with, or attempts to involve Stagecoach in discussions, but I don't think they've been particularly successful. I don't think Stagecoach are too interested in discussing it.
Yeah, we so the Selsey Town Council have been absolutely wonderful in supporting us in our campaign, and we've had a meeting subsequent to us speaking to the council to put forward the fact that we think this needs some support, and we need people behind us to help us fight for this. Selsey Town Council have put feelers out to Stagecoach to try and arrange a meeting. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it will happen given time. But we do need people to go onto the page. We need people to join the page and share the page as much as possible. The reason that we've put it out for the Manhood Peninsula youth is that whilst Witterings and Sidlesham are not necessarily affected by the 5 to 16 age group, they are affected for the 16 to 18 year olds.
From what I understand, and I don't have young children anymore, but the 5 to 16 year olds in Witterings and Bracklesham get transport to and from school because there is not a school in Witterings that they can go to.
Correct, and this is the point that we're trying to make in our letters to the MPs, is that on one hand you're saying that children need to remain in full-time education, on the other hand you're not providing them with adequate financial support to get them to that education. There is no further education in Selsey. The children here have no option but to pay this £22, or their parents to pay this £22 to get them in and out of Selsey. So, and that's the same for the Witterings. They have no option. And for Wittering's parents, they're having to find this money for the first time, £22.
Yeah.
They may not even be aware of the fact that we've lost the card. So I think we really are looking for Wittering's parents to support us as well.
Well, so we urge everybody then to go on Facebook and have a look at fair bus fares for Manhood Peninsula youth and make your feelings known so that we can judge just how strongly the feeling is, and then maybe we've got a little bit of weight that we can go forward with and try and get Stagecoach involved in some sort of negotiations, or get them at least to come up with some fairer package. They've done some things that have lightened the load a little bit, but not a tremendous amount, from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong there, Karen.
What they've done is they've offered these term tickets, and on first glance they look quite good value. It almost looks like we're getting the same price of £11 a week, but because they encompass all of the holidays, the holidays are normally a sort of a welcome break for parents. You know, the 2 weeks off at Christmas, we don't have to pay the bus fares, that's money we've saved. These tickets include all of that. So actually when you look at it and dig a bit deeper, I think the 5 to 16 year olds, they're saving £1.62 a week by buying this upfront card. That's if you can afford to buy it upfront. Not everybody can. And the 16 to 18 year olds, it's only £1 a week.
Yeah, well, it's no big savings, very small. But well, thanks for coming in and having a chat to us, Karen, and updating us a little bit. And I wish you well with your fight, as it were.
Thank you very much.
Because it does affect, it can make a big difference to a lot of people. And I'm sure the fact that not many people seem to have got involved in it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect them, and doesn't mean that they're not interested. So what they really need to do is to make their feelings known, so that you and Julie and others involved can actually judge the worth, or is it just you and a few others that are going to feel the pinch? Others out there might be saying, well, it won't affect us, only 20 quid a week. I can't believe around this area that people can say, well, it's only 20 quid a week, we won't bother about it, can't be bothered getting involved in all that. I'm sure that there are far more people that would suffer because of it, but they're not making their presence felt, and that's what we need them to do, is to make their presence felt.
Yeah, and definitely, and fight instead of just assuming your child can't go to Chichester schools. Fight for what you want, and if that's that you want your child to go to Chichester, we need everybody on side to fight for that.
That's it. Freedom of choice.
Absolutely.
Thanks once again, Karen.
Thank you.
Now, of course, there was a slight discrepancy there on the figures, and Karen, of course, was absolutely correct. There were 2,500 responses, or actually over 2,500 responses were received, and that represented 2% of the overall eligible population. And 75% of that 2,500 were existing cardholders or parents of cardholders, and they voted, 96% of them anyway, voted to keep the scheme as is. And we look forward to seeing what the outcome is eventually.
Thank you, Karen. I don't think Stagecoach or West Sussex County Council come out too well on this, and urge you to work with Karen to find a fair solution for our young people and their parents. Okay, so on a lighter but equally tough note, here is Kevin with another quiz.
Right, hi Kevin, the quiz here with your connections quiz. 5 questions, 5 answers. What's the connection? First one, this is old football. This is for the older generation. Question number 1, who was the only player to play in all 3 of Spurs' FA Cup wins in the 1960s? Give you a clue as a Scotsman. Question number 2, in which Cornish seaside town did the Tate Gallery open an art gallery in 1993? Question number 3, not far from Christmas. Who had a number 1 hit in the 70s with Merry Christmas Everybody? Which group? Question number 4. Which commission was set up to investigate the assassination of President Kennedy? It was called the Summit Commission, named after whom? And your last question, question number 5. What do you call a person who makes arrows? Specific name, what do you call him? So there's your 5 questions. Good luck. You'll get the answers in due course.
Oh gosh. So if you found that tough, then perhaps you need some brain food. So over to Keith in his kitchen for another wonderful recipe.
I don't do too many fish recipes, but that's mainly because I'm not the world's greatest fish eater. I'm quite fussy. I'm a fussy eater anyway. I'm quite fussy with fish. But this next recipe sounds rather tasty. And although it says it's crispy pollock with pineapple, I would guess that you could use all manner of fish. So anything that you'd like to have a go at with this, you can do, I think. Well, this will serve up to 4 people, once again, depending on your appetites. And this is what we need. 2 to 3 garlic cloves, 75 ml of soy sauce, and a drop more for serving with, 75 ml of sherry, 1 teaspoonful of chili powder, 600 grams of pollock fillet, 2 red peppers, 250 grams of mushrooms, 3 spring onions, 150 grams of mung bean sprouts, 1 tin of pineapple pieces, 200 grams of Thai rice, some salt, 750 ml of vegetable oil, and 120 grams of cornstarch or corn flour. Now, to make the marinade, peel the garlic cloves and crush them and mix it with the soy sauce, the sherry and the chili powder. Wash the fish and pat it dry with a kitchen towel, make sure it's dry, and then cut it into thick slices and pour half the marinade over the fish and leave covered for about 30 minutes. Wash the peppers, the mushrooms and the spring onions, and with the tip of a small knife, scrape out the seeds and core the peppers. Then slice both peppers and the mushrooms and cut the spring onions into thin strips. Wash and drain the bean sprouts, drain the pineapple pieces and keep the juice, put that to one side in a bowl. Now, place the rice in a 450 ml of lightly salted boiling water and simmer for 12 to 15 minutes until it's just tender. Stir fry the vegetables in 2 tablespoonfuls of hot oil in a wok or a pan for about 5 to 7 minutes. Add 100 ml of pineapple juice and the remaining marinade. Mix 2 to 3 tablespoonfuls of cornstarch with 50 ml of pineapple juice and add to the vegetables to thicken. Now season to taste and add the bean sprouts and pineapple pieces to the wok. Take the fish out of the marinade and drain and toss lightly in the remaining cornstarch. Now heat the rest of the oil in a deep pan and fry each of the pollock slices for 4 to 5 minutes until they're golden brown and cook through. Transfer the pieces from the oil onto the kitchen towel to soak up any excess oil, and then serve the fish with vegetables and rice and add some soy sauce according to taste. Now that sounds like a really tasty dish even to somebody who's not big on fish.
Thank you, Keith. Now fired up from that, here's some more hot topics from around the area.
Now Now, I'm just sitting here having a cup of tea and thumbing through the local Life magazine that's just dropped through my door, and I've come across a couple of articles that I find quite upsetting in one way or another. The first one is the SACOS bulletin, where SACOS unfortunately have had to call off the production of Oklahoma that they were going to put on in spring 2017, obviously because they don't have anywhere to put it on. SACOS always put its spring shows on at the Academy, and there was a very good reason for that. The facilities at the Academy were fantastic, and they allowed SACOS to put on a very professional standard show. And let me tell you folks, having taken part in a couple of these shows, everybody enjoys every minute of what they're doing, but the shows cost an awful lot of money to put on. Around £15,000 to £16,000 to put one of those shows on, so it's a really professional setup. Now, unfortunately, because of the fire, SACOS have had to call that off. Now, I haven't seen some of the people down there for about 18 months. I know that they'll be absolutely gutted to call off Oklahoma. It's a fabulous show, and they were all looking forward to it. SACOS, obviously, in an effort to raise the money that they need to put these shows on, because if this one doesn't happen this year, they don't raise any money from it. And so they are doing the Christmas extravaganza, which is on the 9th and 10th of December. And on the 25th of February, there's a race night and fish and chip supper, and that's to be confirmed. And on the 19th to the 22nd of April in 2017, they're putting on an old-time music hall. Now, I've said for a long time that that's something that I thought would go down well in Selsey. That's also to be confirmed. I would ask that you really put yourself out to try and attend these functions, to give these people chance to raise the money to put the show on when the facilities become available again. And I'm sure as the minute they become available, they'll be looking to put some sort of show on in there. So please, if you've got the time, put yourself out to go and attend one of these functions, these fundraisers for SACOS, so that we can get back up and running to the level that we used to. The next item that caught my eye was the official newsletter from the Selsey Town Council. Now, they start off by saying a seasonal thank you to all the volunteers who helped put the Christmas lights up, and I would certainly second that, because they've done a fabulous job, and without the lights going up, there would be no need for the rest of it. And the rest of it meant that 3,000 people turned out, over 3,000 people turned out on Saturday evening to see the lights and the Christmas tree and to hear the carols singing and watch the torchlight parade from the church. And without the lights being there, that probably wouldn't have happened. And that sort of thing is what makes Selsey what it is, with its village atmosphere. So I would second that and say a heartfelt thank you to all the volunteers, and to the one person who took to Facebook to knock the way that the lights were put up and say that some of them were upside down. And I believe this gentleman actually used to take part in putting the lights up, and for some reason he no longer does, and that there's probably some ill feeling there. But in reply to his comments on Facebook, I would just say, get yourself a life. Well, the next bit is the council are telling us that they've been working hard on preparing a plan for the remainder of this term, allowing them to focus on the things that matter to us. They say they've finished preparing the draft plan in the summer, and for the last 2 months have been running events and workshops and speaking to us, the residents, about what we think of it and receiving our feedback and ideas. And as well as direct conversations with local community groups and with members of the public, they've also been collating the results of an online and paper-based survey. Now, they received 101 responses to the survey, which clearly identified some of the key themes and priorities for the local community, and these can be summarised as follows: improving the communication with the residents and the local community, improving the links with local community groups and schools, and continuing to support the invaluable local voluntary sector with resources and grants, continuing to support and develop Selsey Works and to provide local access to high quality services and advice, continuing to support and develop community events and to support the Selsey Festival, promote and safeguard the provision of a police presence in Selsey, and encourage the provision of improvements along the B2145, including pull-in spaces for buses and slow-moving vehicles and the widening of Ferry Bend. And that's when the blood pressure went up, because Are they telling us that they need to promote and safeguard the provision of a police presence in Selsey? That leads me to think that somebody might be trying to take it away. Well, you make your own mind up, but that's what I think. And the encouragement of a provision of improvements along the B2145. Yes, let's make it as wide as possible, as far as we can, and it'll become a racetrack then totally. As it is, it's quite narrow, and sometimes it's unfortunate that you have to slow down. The tractors do 30 miles an hour, so for the most part, you're doing the speed limit anyway. Ferry Bend, that slows it all down. Good idea in my book. Only a few lunatics have gone over the side there in the past, so it isn't right. I've got no sympathy for them. If they make that road faster, does it mean it will reduce accidents? I don't think so. I think if they make it faster, it'll increase accidents, because it will give some of those impatient morons, and there are a few about, that decide they've got to overtake regardless of if they're going to get stuck behind 10 cars in front, and they do that risking other people's lives. So I would urge the council to leave the B2145 as it is and stop messing about with it. Now, going back to the police presence issue, some of you may, or many of you may not know, that there's been ongoing talks with Sussex Police for a number of months, and the council are now pleased to confirm that the police will be moving to Selsey Town Hall in 2017, and building works on the existing exhibition hall space will allow them to turn it into a base for police officers and PCSOs when they're on duty in Selsey. The alterations mean that the exhibition hall will be reduced in size by approximately 50%, although the smaller space will still be available for local groups to hire. Now, as I understand the situation, the police station as is being sold off, and if I'm not mistaken, it will be knocked down and there will be flats built in its place. So the money goes from there to where? Now, the police are moving into the town hall, so that means that only half of the exhibition hall can be used by members of the public, because they won't be able to let the police station part out. So that means that reduces the revenue gained from the hire out of the hall. Now, if the police are paying for it, and I assume that they are, I would urge the council to publish the figures and let's have a look and see what's being paid for it. Because relating it to the previous comment that they made about promoting and safeguarding the provision of a police presence in Selsey, it almost makes me feel that there's not going to be one, that it's going to be reduced even further, and that the little bit of exhibition hall that they'll be taking up will only be there really for the PCSOs and the occasional police presence. Where else do you know that a population of over 13,000 that virtually doubles in the summer months has no police presence? Well, I don't know of anywhere, but I'd be pleased to hear from you if you do. Well, that's enough moaning from me for today. I'm going to get back to me cup of tea and read something a bit more cheerful. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you, Keith, and with that we come to the end of the show, so it just remains for me to thank all our contributors, including Local Life magazine, our sound editor John Mallett, our presenters Kevin and Keith, not forgetting of course our producer John Fletcher. So it's goodbye from me, Tony Weiner, until next time, bye.